Now, we all know that second stages come in a variety of different colours. Traditionally, you get a black version and a yellow version as an Octo, but is there any difference between the two? Hi, all of you awesome scuba divers out there. Welcome to the Scuba Diving Magazine channel, your favourite place for the latest scuba diving news and gear reviews. And welcome to Askmark, our scuba diving Q&A, where I'm Mark, a former dive instructor, do my best to answer your scuba diving questions. If you do have any dive questions, pop them down in the comment section underneath this video. Use this Askmark hashtag in your comment to get it featured in an up and coming video. In the meantime, I do my best to type out an answer, and the general community as well does an awesome job of answering questions as well, so thank you everyone for doing that. But yeah, today I'm answering a question from 𝐶𝐸𝐵𝐵𝐵 about different second stage colours. So 𝐶𝐸𝐵𝐵𝐵 says, does a primary donate need to not be the yellow regulator colour? Can you change the colour of the purge button or the exhaust on the XL4+? I can't find anywhere that sells them. So two questions there. The first one, does the second stage that you're breathing from need to be a certain colour? Realistically, no. Just because you're diving like a primary donate setup, and the second stage that you're breathing from is the one that you donate to your buddy, doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be yellow or it has to be black. I know this isn't, I mean, this is their like primary second stage. It comes in a few different colors. It's just the only one that I have is mint, I think they call this. But well, I mean, for my personal setup, for example, I use a pair of black second stages. The color doesn't really mean anything. Arguably, it does mean something, because yellow Octo second stages in the factory and from the service center, they're traditionally set up a little bit stiffer, so they're less likely to free flow because they tend to be sat on a hip. You're doing a giant stride entry, they make it just an eensy bit stiffer to open up that valve, because most people aren't going to be breathing from them constantly as a primary. All that really means is that you just take it to your service center and say, hey, I'm going to be using this as a primary, can you set it up accordingly? And it's just a little, and that's about it. It'll take 2 minutes. Cosmetically is the main reason why people don't have like a yellow second stage as their primary. Some do. It is really up to you. But yeah, like mechanically, they're effectively the same. It's just these little cosmetic details that are different, and when they're set up in the factory, they're often set up a little bit stiffer, so that may need to change. Can you swap over the purge button? Yeah, you can. It's just that piece there. You won't be able to change. Oh, you got the XL4+. Can't remember which version that is. You can't change that bit, unfortunately. That bit you can change. However, the fact that you can't find anywhere that sells them online suggests that you're in a country where it's deemed a, I can't remember the terminology, but it's deemed as like a service part. So all of these individual parts will have a part number and they'll have a price, but they'll be in a separate price list. So here in the UK, for example, that's why I'm the most familiar, because it will be different in different countries. You can buy that as a complete part, as a like general member of the public. However, parts like this, you can only buy if a service center fits it for you. It's basically so that people aren't like fiddling around and doing stuff themselves and assembling it incorrectly and risking damaging their second stages, or like any of their dive equipment for that. So some things are like kept behind your like service center counter, as it were. So it would just be, you turn up to your Apex dealer and you say, hey, I would like a new purge button for my XL4+. Is that something that you can do for me? And they'll tell you yes or no. It should be something that they can order in. If they are an authorized Apex dealer, they should be able to get it in. But they'll probably insist on fitting it for you just to make sure that it's done properly. It's not something that they should be just selling, so you don't see those kind of parts just on the internet websites. It's not something that they'll it's not something that they should just like ship out to any Joe diver. It's something that they should fit themselves. I often see a lot of pushback on that, and I kind of get it, because if you are like technically minded, it's not that hard to service regulators. But yeah, service kits, for example, you can't buy service kits just by themselves. You kind of have to pay for them during a service, and there are a few reasons. The main one, yeah, is that you can't, so you can interchange them. So that you don't damage your equipment, but also it helps to keep your dive center alive. So they're sending the divers back into the dive center, so they get a little cut of that revenue, because I know it's relatively small, but it adds up. And if your dive center goes under, then you've got nowhere to buy your equipment, and you've got nowhere to get air fills. So it is good to support your local dive center with these sorts of things. So it's kind of a yes and no answer to the question. Yes, you can buy replacement covers. No, you don't really need to. And no, you can't just like buy one over the counter and then fit it yourself, even though, as you can see, it's pretty easy. It is something that a service technician is probably required to do wherever you are. But as far as which one you should use, it's really up to you. It mainly comes down to, is that one set up a little bit stiffer than that one, which increases your work of breathing. Most divers won't even notice. It's usually like 1.5 inches versus 1 inch, which is reasonably small. So most divers won't notice it, but it just makes it that little bit harder to open up that valve. It's not going to be that hard, it will just breathe. But it's mainly because your Octo, sits in the necklace or sits on your hip, and they don't want it just free flowing, so they set it up just an incy bit stiffer, so it's less likely to free float when it's just sat on your hip. But it is an interesting question, and it does open that second question on buying like service parts, like internal things. Yes, you can buy them, but you kind of have to get them to fit it for you. Any other questions, by all means pop them down in the comment section underneath this video. Remember to use this Askmark hashtag to get it featured in an up and coming video. Also remember to head over to all our different websites, social media channels and things. And of course, remember to like, share and subscribe here on YouTube if you're new. Thank you for watching, everybody, and of course, safe diving.